Vault. Please take a moment to follow and subscribe to West Coast Songwriters on social media. My name is Mike Annuzzi, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Mike Annuzzi and at Music Accelerator and hashtag Mike at the Mic. I'm so happy to introduce our special guest today on the West Coast Songwriters Video Vault. Payton Ali is an amazing singer-songwriter from North Texas to Nashville who combines her soulful and modern pop sound. She released her first single, Baby, in February 2020, and I instantly became a fan after hearing just one track and her incredible voice. I have very much been enjoying listening to, and I highly recommend everyone check out her songs, The Last Time and Blush. If she were a color, she would be blush. Please welcome Payton Ali. Payton, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you all for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I love your tag. If you were a color, you'd be blush.
Yes.
Why'd you come up with that?
I mean, I figured with the song, you know, being called Blush, and then just kind of like all of the things I was wearing, everything I was kind of doing was, you know, revolving around that color. And I figured I needed to have a little tagline to explain that. And for me, I'm even like wearing a shade of it right now. Like, it's obviously a thing. So, but for me, that color, it's feminine, and it just represents beauty and just calm, to me. And that's just like something that inspired me. And it kind of went with the whole EP that I did. So, that's kind of where that comes from, is just me kind of finding peace and inspiration like in that color. So
that's awesome. I love how you connected that. And I had a chance to speak with you on the phone earlier, just briefly this morning, and just hearing your voice over the phone and now hearing it again on here, you just have such a beautiful timbre in your voice. It sounds amazing. I love your sound, and I love your new song. So congratulations on the new releases that you've had. Thank
you so much. It's been super fun to just honestly share it. It means everything just to have, you know, something to put out there. And that was all I could ever ask for. So it's awesome to hear things like that about, you know, my songs. It's like, it's weird to say, but it's awesome. So thank you.
So can you tell us how it all got started for you?
Oh dear. Just like the getting to the point of releasing music.
Maybe, getting to the point of releasing music, your career, starting, understanding, developing your musical career.
Well, honestly, I've been singing as long as I can remember. I mean, I grew up, you know, rewatching videos of me as like a child with like a speaker and like a karaoke system and a microphone and a guitar. Like, I have all of those things, but I really have been singing my whole life, and then started to, you know, dive into the songwriting as well, because that's, you know, not everyone does that, but I would say a lot of artists do try to at least go down that path. You know, I started writing music when I was a preteen, teenager, you know, and it has certainly evolved. But like lyrics were definitely something that were always there, for me. And, you know, I did choir, I did show choir, and would sing the national anthem in high school for sporting events. And even in college I did too. You know, so I've always found ways to keep music relevant, because a big hop for me was like leaving high school, whenever you're kind of like, it's in your schedule every day, you know, to be practicing music. And so, you know, like I said, in college, I did some auditions and would sing the national anthem, you know, at sporting events and such. And I've always kept writing. So that's always been consistent. But, you know, I graduated, I cheered through college, graduated, and wasn't really sure of a path, you know, with music. And I think it's definitely about trying to make connections with people, and, you know, and that starts by putting yourself out there. So I started putting some videos on YouTube. Outside of music, I've always been in the industry of a personal assistant, executive assistant. So that's what I did. And I'm actually still doing part-time. And through some people that I met in my last job, as an executive assistant, you know, I met Wendy, and, you know, she just kind of asked me share some of my stuff with her, and I did, and it really kind of took off from there. I mean, she heard some lyrics of some songs I wrote and some work tapes. I also had some auditions posted from previous things, you know, on YouTube, and she liked me enough to take me under her wing and, you know, believed in me fully. And that's kind of where it all took off from there, is just like really getting to know her getting to know me, and just kind of what the dream is, and what the goals are for me. And that's, you know, obviously to write and hopefully have the privilege to sing my own music and share it with the world, which she's allowed me to do on some level already, which is, it's incredible, you know.
What a terrific support network that you've been able to build. And just so everybody knows who's listening, you're referring to Wendy Hope, and she's a talented artist, and her company Myriad Productions has been involved with West Coast Songwriters. We're so lucky to have you, one of the artists that she works with, to join us today. So I do want to ask you, we actually had another one of her artists on, Dakota Green, and I also asked him the same question, but I wanted to ask you, what is it like for you working with a company like Myriad?
I mean, it's awesome. I think it's one thing to have, you know, a Wendy believe in you, but then when you it starts to turn into a team, and then it's, you know, backed from a, you know, a company perspective. I mean, it's incredible. It's growth, and it's exciting. And, you know, Wendy was able to put me and Dakota in a room to where we could co-write and just kind of be creative and artistic together too. So I know Dakota, and he's awesome. So it's kind of put some cool things in line for me in that regard, because I've really never done a ton of co-writing. And so through Myriad, I mean, I'm able to connect with some other songwriters and artists like I wouldn't normally have otherwise. So that's an exciting part, outside of just feeling like, you know, there's a lot more opportunity, obviously.
Absolutely. So let's go back to a fairly recent time for you. How did you go from making the move from Texas to Nashville?
Well, like I said, I was an executive assistant in Dallas, and you know, I'm a spiritual person, so I kind of for months had a stirring within me, for lack of a better term, and I've known that I've been put on this earth for a purpose, and have been given these gifts to sing and write and be able to like convey things I feel in that, you know, in a musical sense for a reason. And I just felt like, okay, I've been talking to Wendy, things are kind of happening. Could I really do this? Could I move to Nashville and make this full time? And I sat on that thought for a couple of months, and it just kind of festered and made sense. And, you know, that opportunity ended for me, and I just went straight into kind of, oh, why not? And I honestly just did it. I mean, I dipped out of my lease 9 months early and left and went to Nashville. So that's it. I mean, I wish I had a more exciting way, but it literally was like just within days had made the decision and was packing. So, I mean, it was kind of a now or never sense for me.
Well, we're all cheering for you from afar and rooting you on for making that leap of faith and going to where you wanted, or where you felt that you were being drawn to. And I can hear in the music that was a really good decision to make. So I just want to say that your songs do get stuck in my head. I love the lyrical content, your melodies, your production. It's incredible. So how do you go from writing these incredible songs to the recording and the whole production process, like your concept to completion?
It's kind of funny, actually. And just to give you a random example, you know, like I heard a bird like 3 weeks ago, like with this little tune, and it got stuck in my head, and I had these like lyrics, and I meshed them together. So like I copied into my phone a voice recording of this little bird peeping because it was so catchy. And then now it's kind of like turned into a song, but it literally is like that. I mean, whether it starts out with a full-blown song from a lyrical perspective, and then you really start thinking about what kind of song it is. Is it like a slow ballad? Is this something you want to grab people with, or is this going to be like an upbeat fun? So you have to take those things into consideration, but it quite honestly will start with a voice memo on my phone and then end up in a work tape. So I'm usually playing piano. That's my instrument of choice. And then I send that off to Wendy or whoever and kind of tell them what I'm thinking. And then, once you cross over and you're sitting in a studio and you get into the production side, I mean, they have instruments that you don't just have sitting next to you and things to contribute to the song that even somewhat you have never really thought about. So it's really, really cool to just, I can visualize where I was when some of these songs came to my brain, and I'm usually in my car singing the melody and recording it and saving it and then working on that all the way through to, Baby. I mean, that was exactly what all three of those songs ended up like. That's the process. It's a thought into a voice memo, into notes, into a work tape, into a email, and then you end up in a studio working on it. So that's what it's been like for me.
That's awesome. I think that as a songwriter myself, and a lot of, again, West Coast songwriters, we are all about developing tips and tricks and ideas and creating development for the songwriter. And so I feel like a lot of us in that situation go through that same thing. Like I was just thinking about the bird on the tree, and I hear that sweet tune, and then you kind of go off of that. It's wherever your inspiration comes from, you kind of are letting yourself take you there and create what is meant to be,
Definitely.
And
Definitely. It sounds silly, but it really, it was one of the funnier things that's ever happened. It's not always a bird, but it has happened. So
yeah. I mean, I just like conversationally now and inputting to this conversation. I remember as a child, when I first started writing songs, I used to ride my bike everywhere. I rode my bike to school. I would ride to baseball practice. I loved riding my bike, and I still do. But I remember it was the first time I rode my bike and learned how to ride without my hands, no handlebars, And so I started clapping a beat. And I started catching myself as I was riding down the street, clapping this beat, singing a song that came out of nowhere. And I looked around, I thought everybody would think I was crazy. But sometimes the song just sparks out of nothing. And it's really cool to hear your experience doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of a, my thing went away. Okay. Yeah, no, it's kind of a random process. It definitely can't be planned. Songwriting, that's one thing I would say. I think a lot of people try to like make it happen, like I'm going to go write this song. And it just, at least in my experience, it just doesn't happen that way. I mean, it really does just kind of come upon you and start, whether you're outside or in the shower or wherever. So I would say most of mine are outside of set times that, for music for me.
So I guess I see a guitar in the background. I know right now you're in Texas, your hometown. So what is life like for you moving back and forth between Nashville and Texas and staying creative and productive?
I think I had no clue that I would be doing what I'm doing right now, nor did anybody. I feel like everyone in the world's going through the same thing, whether I'm talking to musicians or whether I'm talking to, someone in the corporate world. I couldn't have imagined it, but I'm kind of just making the best out of it that I can. The cool thing about my family is we are a musical family. So when I do come home, there are guitars here. I have a piano. I've got, my mic. I take my mic everywhere with me, so I can plug it in, sit in front of the piano, and I can really do a lot of the same things, if not more, you know, just as much as I can in Nashville. But the transition going back and forth has not really been that bad. I mean, I think just like I said, everyone else is going through this whole world on pause thing. So it's like, there's a lot unknown, and that's okay. But the good thing is I can always be creative no matter where I'm at. And, you know, I was in Colorado last week, up in Woodland Park, Pikes Peak area, and just like soaking that in. And again, my papa, he's got guitars everywhere. And so the really cool thing about that is my family is musical. So I feel like I always have the opportunity to be able to sit down and play and contribute to the songwriting process no matter where I'm at. So that's a big blessing just in and of itself. So
that's very cool. Yeah. And I was trying to listen. So your latest 3, again, congratulations on the release of these tracks. I absolutely love them. So I guess, can you tell me a little bit about like your style of music? Like what would you consider yourself?
That is such a good question. And I feel like that's been a huge part of my journey, even going to Nashville, because I remember feeling kind of insecure about, you know, I'm not a country, I'm not a, you know, bubblegum pop girl, I'm not really rock, you know, and really trying to find my place. And I really ended up having to just go with, you know, what style of music that I enjoy, and kind of came up with like a soulful pop, with electronic maybe being like the secondary genre, because I really like that sound. I really like songs that someone is just singing and then you can move to it. And then, you know, from an artistic perspective, I like being able to break it down and do like a last time, which, you know, even still has that electronic vibe to it, but it's slowed down. It's the ballad of the 3 songs. But, you know, I even imagine myself taking it down another notch from that. So I would say really I'm just in that. I'm kind of like a soulful pop is what I feel happy and secure with, you know, along with maybe having like that electronic undertone to everything. So.
And your voice totally blends well with all of the above. It's just so pleasant. Like I said on the phone call earlier, it was just so pleasant. And I listened to all your tracks again today before coming on this call with you. And it's so nice that you have that ability to kind of explore wherever you want to go, not only with your songwriting, but, you know, what style you want to actually create. And it's just a really cool thing that you're able to share your talent with us in that way. So thank you for doing that. So I do want to ask you, your musical influences. Who would you say your top musical influences are?
Top musical influences. You know, Dua Lipa has come onto the scene fairly recently, but I think that she is an absolute rock star from, you know, just the perspective of style. Like I really appreciate her lane that she's in. So I would say, you know, recently she's been someone that I've really been like loving her vibe. But I would say generally speaking, and I know a lot of people say this, but like Taylor Swift as a songwriter, I've followed her journey up until this point and continue to, because I think she's just brilliant and awesome. So in that regard, I really have been influenced by her. I like how she just, I mean, she's kind of her own. She writes the majority of all her music and really just kind of has taken herself in the directions that she wants to go. And I love that about her. Adele, another huge one for me. I love her soul. I love her lyrics. And as a songwriter, that's all you could ask for, is for people to connect. I feel like the way that they connect to a Taylor Swift song, to a Adele song, and things like that. So I would say, you know, just a lot of these pop artists, you know, Camila Cabello is another one who's a little more recent too. And she's totally different style. She really puts, you know, a bit of her Latina in with her music. And I like that. I like that she has her own, again, just her own specific sound. but just as a musician in general, I just like think the world of her. I think she's great. And I always tell people, if you grabbed my phone from me and you shuffled through my music, you would not know who I was at all. Because I love Frank Sinatra. I love that jazzy, and I like 70s rock and roll. I mean, I really take everything in. So I don't know. I just have a really high appreciation for a lot of artists.
It's so cool hearing you talk about this, because it sounds like sometimes you talk to somebody about music and you could tell they're a super giddy fan and stuff. And this time I hear not only are you a fan, but you're like evaluating it in the moment and understanding it on so much of a deep level that it's like, it's so cool to hear you speak about music, because I feel like it means everything to you. I could just tell. It's so cool.
It does, and a couple I left at, actually, Lady Gaga and Amy Winehouse. From an overall style perspective too, I would say, I don't know if you could ever tell, or if I would even be in the realm of comparison with them, but they're two people that, like, I would say when I listen to them overall, I'm like, dang, I want to sing like that. I want to connect like them. I mean, Lady Gaga, again, prime example of somebody who just took her everything kind of by the reins and has done everything she could ever want, and really explored different sides of herself. And that's really something I want to do as well. So when you kind of ask me about, my style and that sort of thing, I mean, I'm always up to evolve, so that's another thing with me.
Yeah, that's terrific. So at West Coast Songwriters, we have a focus on the songwriting aspect in the music industry. So what kind of tips do you have for songwriters, or any tips for musicians who are trying to establish a career in the music industry?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what people are looking for are your songs, and what most people are looking for are songs that are gonna connect and things that are gonna come across honest. And so I can really say that the only advice that I have, and that I've been going by up until this point, and I still have a million miles to go in all of this, but, at least for where I'm at now, I know that I'm sitting where I'm at talking to you because I've managed to be able to write really honest songs that, just so happen to get stuck in your head. So I feel like, make sure that you're really taking, if you're pitching a song or you're sharing a song of any sort, it's just, make sure you've refined it, and then it's just honest and relatable, and obviously catchy. I mean, I know there's tons of lyrics out there that are very compelling that don't get very far because it's not really like put into something that grabs people's attention. So you really have to think about the whole thing, and when you do pitch songs, people aren't like, heck yeah, that's the final product. I mean, there's so much more to do to a song, even when someone says they like it. So if you can do the groundwork of making it lyrically deep and, like I said, relatable and all that, I think that you're on a pretty good path.
Yeah, and I love hearing the path that you're on. It's pretty awesome. It kind of reminds me what you're saying right now. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Songland.
Yeah.
It's so cool hearing that process of, these artists that are coming in with a song that, is pretty well completed, and then just the little tiny tweaks that it takes to get it to the point of recording and releasing. It's just absolutely amazing. And you should be really, really proud of the work that you've done. And again, I know this is a difficult time of around the world, but congratulations on that awesome release. And so that being said, what kind of things do you have coming up? Some projects or maybe shows possibly in the works, or any other things that you have in the works?
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a DFW tour that I was going to be doing of my 3 songs that were released, and, kind of doing a release party with some friends and family. back in March. And I still intend on that to kind of rev back up, but until there's a little more security and knowing what direction everything's going, I really can't tell you that I have any sort of show coming up. I have been writing like a crazy person, and I've sent some more stuff out, and I am definitely working on getting what I hope to be a first full album coming sometime this year, next year maybe. It really depends on the climate of the world, but yeah, I've kept writing, and really the best way to stay updated with me is my Instagram. I really try to post a lot of videos of me singing on my Instagram, because that's something I can control and something I know people will see. But really until then, it's just, I'm kind of, like I said, working to get a solid album, to and through Myriad and Wendy, and just kind of see what we think of all of it, and what we can come up with together. And again, I want to share it with everybody. So it's really exciting.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. It's a very exciting time, and I would encourage anyone listening to, yes, go follow Payton Ali at on your Instagram. It's awesome hearing your sound clips that you do and some performances on there, and it's very cool seeing that. So I highly encourage that. At this point, Payton, I do want to turn it over to Poppy and bring her on if she has any questions or thoughts or anything like that to contribute today.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, Payton. Thanks for hanging out with us. So a couple things came up for me. So going back to the beginning of the conversation and the color blush and femininity and how that just really is your personality. So a lot of people can confuse femininity with weakness, and obviously that's not the case, right? Because how much strength does it take to get on a plane and move to Nashville? So I want to talk about your experience in going from Texas into Nashville as a woman and starting this career. Obviously, you're working a second job on the side, which I'll get into in a moment. That's the second part of my question. What was that experience like for you in digging that strength out to overcome some of that nervousness, if you had it?
I was lucky enough to have a Wendy in place and know her, and kind of take that, knowing that there were going to be things happening for me to some level. I didn't know, because it was really the first time I went for anything, musically. And so that alone gave me a little bit of peace of mind, because, I met a ton of people in Nashville who have been there for years who are still having trouble getting, their song in front of somebody, or just even having the right person. Not that people don't have support and fans, but having the right person believe in you and be able to kind of take you somewhere with your music. So in that, I felt a lot of peace. But I won't sugarcoat it. I mean, I ripped myself up from everyone I know and love for 25 years of my life, and move to a city where I knew two people. And I was working as a kickboxing instructor outside of that, which not rolling in the dough by any means. So, I was going from a corporate job, making pretty good money, living in uptown Dallas, to the total opposite, if you could imagine that. So that alone was an adjustment. But, knowing what I'm going there for is really what got me out of bed every single day, and knowing that it was going to be worth it. My faith has kept me totally together. I say totally together, relatively speaking, because there are days, but just knowing that I'm doing the right thing. But I would say that there were a couple of months there that were probably, up to my life to this point, has been the hardest thing I've ever gone through, because you are alone and you are pursuing something that I mean, this industry is hard. It doesn't matter what level you are in it at. It's hard, and you just have to persevere and keep knocking and keep trying and doing the thing. And really being able to keep that in the back of my mind every day was helpful. But yeah, it was super hard. And then, you know, speaking on the topic of, you know, the color blush and being feminine and just like the strength that comes with that, I think that all kind of went into blush and kind of that theme for like where I'm at right now. Is I think it's the total opposite. I mean, I think being super vulnerable, and open and honest and kind of, you know, doing something along the lines I did takes a lot, you know, kind of as to what you were saying. But yeah, I mean, nothing about that transition was easy. It was the right thing. You know, it wasn't easy, but looking back almost 9 months later, you know, it was the best thing I've done, you know, and it was all in perfect timing. You know, I feel like I look back at everything post-college, and every single thing led me to a different person or place or whatever to lead me to Wendy and that relationship, and then to talking to you guys. I mean, it's all that simple in my head.
Well, I think you'll give a different meaning to the color blush, because it's not a shy color when it pertains to you. And so this leads into my other question, and more of a statement, is that a lot of people are unaware of that 10-year overnight success where someone goes, wow, this person just came out of nowhere, and this person's been working on their projects for like 10 years and working side jobs like you are. And I like the idea of using our side jobs as leverage for our dreams. So talk a little bit about leveraging your dreams.
Well, for me, you know, and everybody has a different, okay, back to the question. For me, everyone's story is different, but for me, it was something I had to do. You know, it was something, if I was going to follow this dream, I was going to need to have some other kind of supplement. But, you know, again, it's kind of crazy. It's been a blessing of me finding the right jobs, the right people to work for. And I'm picky. It's like, just as much as someone's like interviewing you and you're getting hired for these things, I'm the same way back, you know, to them. And so it was really being able to find the people that understood what season I'm in right now and what I'm pursuing, and just kind of being on board with me, and then being able to utilize my other skills, to where I can kind of make a living and still do what I need to do to like keep this whole thing going with music too, you know, because it just, for me in particular, I have to be doing that in order to push the music further and further. So,
how do you carve out so it's so hard to switch gears, I find, even in the job I have now. There's the bookkeeping, and then there's the creative foresight. How do you carve that creative time out so you can transition out of your leveraging mode to your creative mode?
Just kind of like time, like balancing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to switch gears. Like, you can't just like jump into, I'm sure, songwriting after doing your regular job. How do you create a transition for yourself? What helps you transition?
I try my best, you know, and being an executive assistant's kind of a constant. You're always getting pinged. You're always on call, so to speak, looking at information. But I really try to set the mornings. You know, I have a set amount of hours a day that I devote to getting things done, you know, from on my work side. And then I really just try to kind of use the middle of my day to decompress. I'll work out, I'll do something, and kind of start writing. Sometimes I just sit on the piano and get the juices flowing. And there's sometimes where it doesn't happen that day. It's just like, I'm not feeling creative. And I think any songwriter or artist can totally relate to that. But for the majority of the time, I think that I have the ability to kind of take it to the musical gear. And I'll kind of look back on some lyrics or whatever, but it's really just about kind of compartmentalizing your day, you know, it being disciplined with that, which it's been pretty good. Cause I'm working a little, you know, part-time, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. That's important for me to carve up my day so that like my mornings are free for a certain process. And so it's interesting to hear how everyone's process works. this point, I have one number on. Daniela, if you want to unmute your mic, you can ask Payton a question.
Hi, Payton. Thanks for
Hi.
speaking with us. I don't know if I have a specific question. I was curious to just hear from you because I noticed that a lot of your influences were also my influences. So it's like, oh, I want to see what this chick's about. But anyways, I guess the one thing I'm curious about, I don't know a ton about your background, and I didn't actually get a chance to listen to you because this interview came up quicker than I thought it was going to. But I guess my one question I'm thinking about now is I'm curious to know how you work with producers, or if you do a lot of the production yourself. For me personally, I'm getting to a point where I want to see if I can establish a relationship locally because I'm feeling overwhelmed with doing everything, even though I do know how to do a lot of stuff. So just curious how that part of the process is for you.
This is totally random, but my phone went from 40% to 2 in like the last 2 minutes.
Oh, no.
So can I grab my charger real quick so that I don't die on y'all?
Yeah.
Y'all
That's fine. Yep.
Real life.
That was a terrific question. I'm so looking forward to hearing the answer to that one. Thank you for contributing that.
Unless her phone dies on us. I mean, everybody's having this tech stuff going. I'm watching my battery right now, and if it dies, I've got to plug it in, but it tends to get hot. So, yeah, it's a juggling with running these Zoom calls. They do tend to.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I thought that I had that taken care of, but my phone. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, Payton's live. Okay, so your question was, you as a songwriter are trying to figure out. Repeat your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just curious to know, at what point do you hand your songs over to a producer, and how do you work with and collaborate with that producer to move your project forward? I'm a songwriter and an artist, and I'm not strictly in either lane, but I also am a person who likes to learn everything and do it myself, and that gets me into trouble because then I get sidetracked. And so I know for sure I'm at a point where I need to start thinking about finding a trusted person to help me with production, not because I can't do it all necessarily, but just because I need to build that team so I'm not getting lost in the weeds.
One piece of advice I would say is, producers are producers because that's where they shine, right? I've had producers that, have a lot to say about my songs, or they pitch, recommendations, but at the end of the day, their job is to kind of bring my vision of my song to life. And, understanding what a producer can do and what that looks like is awesome, but I don't personally put that kind of stress on me. I kind of utilize the team of people that I've got, at my disposal to figure out who the best producers are going to be for me, my style of music. And that's kind of step one. And then I almost try to convince myself that this is 90% there before I hand off a song to a producer. I don't really go in there with half visions, half concepts or anything like that. They truly are putting, and I've thought about the beat and I've sent them voice recordings of me sounding ridiculous, but they know what I mean when I'm saying a certain sound or a certain beat or an instrument. And so for me, I'm just kind of I really try to take it to them as finished as I could possibly have it with what I've got, if that makes sense. So that would be my advice, just to kind of ease your mind as a songwriter and as an artist so that you can kind of feel more freedom in that process, is maybe not to worry about that unless that was ever to become an interest of yours. I would just try to stick with the singing songwriting and really just try to find someone that is going to be good with your sound, whatever that sound is.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Danielle. All right, and Pete Summer.
Hi, Peyton. Thanks for doing
Hi.
this. I listened to your song "Baby." Were you playing piano on it? I think you had just gotten to Texas. Uh,
Hmm.
Excellent. It really resonated, and I'm still searching for that soulmate. It was excellent, excellent
You
song.
me both, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. Keep going, keep going. So, how do you feel the internet's impacted the music business? You know,
Um,
before COVID, and and during.
I mean, obviously, I think that the internet for any person in any sort of business is incredible because of the ability to pass information on as quickly as we can nowadays, and for the amount of platforms that there are for that kind of stuff to shine, and especially for musicians. I mean, having Instagram, I mean, now TikTok's a thing, but YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, I mean, you're able to push, um I think did I go away?
You're here.
Oh no. You're able to push, your product just across millions of people, with a touch of a button, so to speak. So I think it's done wonders for musicians in the music industry. I think there are obviously things out there that can be hurtful, with the internet. But if you're really just speaking in terms of like a product, like a song, a video, I mean, I think it totally has changed and optimized the way that the music industry gets things done. As far as kind of the COVID thing and the way people have managed, I mean, we've like all learned a new talent. It's like if we were never allowed to go into a building again, it's like we've figured out how to chat and like make our worlds go around doing a Zoom or doing these live concerts. I mean, I think that people got resourceful and the internet became a huge tool. So, in a lot of ways, I think that kind of has saved parts of the industry right now because you're losing money. I mean, artists are losing money on ticket sales or concerts or, appearances. Now, granted, appearances can be done like this. I mean, I watch Jimmy Fallon and Ellen, and I see all them kind of doing what they're doing. I mean, it's great. It's different, but I honestly think it's probably saved a lot of people during the pandemic.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. So, if you could change anything about the music industry, what would it be?
Change anything about the industry? You know, I I can't say that I'm far enough in it to give a valid or have an opinion thus far. I mean, I feel like where I'm at in the industry, it's been good. I really have found the right people. Now that being said, I know that there's some protocol that is not, I don't feel like it's ethically great, but I'm not in that. So, where I'm at right now, I don't think that I could give a very educated answer to that because I haven't seen a lot of sides of it at this point. But yeah, for where I'm at, I feel like everything's going okay. They're treating me all right for now. So I'm sorry I can't give you a
Oh no, hey, I'm not looking for a story. I'm just asking your opinion. That's all. No,
yeah.
no problem. Um, so, what's the best advice so far that you've been given? Been given? From
I would say, and it kind of goes along the me answering Mike about songs specifically, but it falls in line with who you are too. And I think the best advice that I could give anybody is really to be authentic, be yourself, because I've seen it and I've also heard, from people in the industry, you know, you can't put yourself out there as A and B product B, people are going to get confused I don't think that works, if that makes sense. You can't be one thing and push something and then be another. Because you get discovered, and I just don't think it works out for people for very long. So I really think you have to be authentic in who you are, all the way through with everything you do. And that was advice given to, through this whole process, was like, you're where you're at because you've stayed exactly who you are all the way, no matter who you do. So that's the best thing. And the truth of the matter is just not everybody's going to like that, but you'll find if you keep pressing, you're going to find people that will, and then you'll go where you go. And that's kind of the great thing about my story. I feel like that's kind of what happened with me in this case. So
great. So you're sharing that advice forward. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Payton. Appreciate your time in doing this with West Coast Songwriters, and
yeah.
Turn it back over.
Yeah, so integrity and authenticity are everything. And you're right, you do get discovered, so you may as well just be yourself. Why would you want to be something else and draw the people that you don't want to work with, right? So it's like, if you want to collaborate with people, if you want to work with people, you need to draw the people that you actually are going to want to work with, and you won't get that by being anything other than who you are. So we hear that time and time again on these interviews, which is awesome, because it really drives it home that you do have to be yourself, and not everyone is going to like that, but then the people you're meant to work with are the people that will be drawn to you. So
exactly.
For sharing that tidbit, that was really awesome. And thank you for connecting with us today, because like you said, we're finding these ways to make it work. Everyone needs human connection. I've seen Ellen with her people outside her window, and they're filming. It's hilarious. And it's like they're still finding ways to connect and laugh, and we're finding ways for our community to be fed and connect. So thank you for being a part of that today. Really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to talking to you down the line, hopefully involve you in more West Coast Songwriters events, maybe a performance or some kind of mentorship, or any way we can connect with you. We'll look forward to that. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone so much for being here. Payton, I just part of the conversation that we've had today, it kind of makes me think a little bit about, you have to work to make things happen, but you also have to learn to just let go a little bit and just allow things to happen. I think that, you've taken a big risk to release your music, but like I said many times already, we're all so happy that you've done that. And we're so happy that we get to hear these songs that you've released, and we can't wait to hear everything else that's coming your way. So thank you so much. It was a true pleasure having you on today, and thank you for sharing your time with us. We look forward to including you more here at West Coast Songwriters. And also thank everyone for joining in today and for watching this video. I do want to say that if you have any ideas or ideas for upcoming shows in the Video Vault, please do send comments our way, and we will see you at the very next one. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Payton.